Good morning, and thank you for joining our Grape Quality Summit. My name is Matthew Dewar, and I'm the Director of AgTech Sales here at Hazel Technologies. Hazel Technologies is a USDA-funded company that offers new solutions for fruits and vegetables to extend shelf life, improve sales, and reduce food waste. We hope today's event is beneficial to both you and your operations. The summit today will feature 3 presentations given by 4 industry experts, along with videos featuring some of our Grape collaborators. These speakers include retail market analysis expert, principal at 210 Analytics, Anne-Marie Rohrink, leaders in quality table grape production, food safety manager at Jasmine Vineyards, Luis Katsurayama, and Business Development Manager, AgTech, at Hazel Technologies, Nico Tomasic. Lastly, we'll be joined by Post-Harvest Technology Specialist, Hazel Technologies, Director of Business Development, AgTech, Mario Cervantes. The Quality Summit is translated into both English and Spanish, so please utilize the translation option at the bottom of your screen to hear translations if needed.
Una vez finalizadas las presentaciones, tendremos una sesión de preguntas y respuestas. Si tiene alguna pregunta durante el evento, escríbala en el cuadro de preguntas y respuestas. Antes de comenzar, por favor disfrute de este breve video sobre Hazel Technology.
So when we reached out to you to send us a few packs, we ran it into our early red grape and we shipped it across the ocean to New Zealand. And our customer over there gave us a call saying how amazing it was that the stem showed up with color in it. They were very pleased to see it like that.
Our customers are asking when they receive the fruit, what is this packet inside the grapes? And we explain to them, it's Hazel Tech, it's just going to preserve everything, and I think that goes a long ways.
We're putting this in our top export box. I utilize the sachet inside the box, gives the customer a longer time to hold the fruit and utilize the technology for everyone's benefit.
We feel that Hazel could really help us maintain those green stems a little bit longer in our cold storage, but then also at arrival.
We are convinced that this product works. We think this needs to be introduced to all of our products, even to our national market, as we educate the retailers on the product as well.
Thank you so much.
Muchas gracias y buenos días a todos. Bienvenidos a una rápida revisión de lo que está sucediendo con la venta de uva al por menor en Estados Unidos. Si damos un paso atrás y observamos las frutas en conjunto, vemos que las verduras tuvieron un 2020 muy fuerte y las frutas asumieron el liderazgo de crecimiento en 2021. Ven esa línea roja ahí, pero también...
But also when we compare to 2019, the pre-pandemic normal, you continue to see that fruit and vegetables continue to do extremely well. Fruit sales sit about 22% over 2019 when compared in dollars. Now, when we compare the dollar performance to units and volume, you see that dollars are very positive, but we're actually declining a little bit in terms of the number of units we sell and the number of pounds that we're selling. When you look deeper into fruit, you see that grapes are the 3rd largest seller. Berries are an absolute powerhouse with a sale of $8.4 billion during 2020, the latest 52 weeks, I should say, ending March 27th. And grapes are a powerhouse in their own rights with sales of $3.6 billion. That was up 6.9%, and that's very much in line with the total that we're seeing for fresh fruit at 7.7%. When we dig a little bit deeper and look specifically at grape sales, we see that same phenomenon where dollars are up almost 7%, but units and volume are down at 2.8% and 2.6%. If we look at that, why that is happening, you see that people are buying grapes roughly the same number of times, about 10 times a year. They're spending a little bit more per trip. That has everything to do with that inflation. But we're also seeing that in total, people are spending more per buyer, up 6.2% or 9.2% compared to 2 years ago. But what is different is the number of households that are buying grapes at retail in the last year. That was down 0.4%, And when we compare that same block of 52 weeks, you see that it's down almost 2% compared to 2 years ago. So that's really where a lot of that pressure comes from. We have fewer people buying, even though those that do buy it the same number of times and pay a little bit more. When we look at dollars versus volume, that's very insightful as well. We saw huge demand for grapes during that first year of the pandemic. However, prices were down. So even though we sold way more pounds, we just weren't able to keep up with dollars at retail. Now, come the first quarter of 2021, all that flipped around. The dark blue line that shows dollar growth, as you can see, had very, very aggressive growth in the third quarter of last year, the fourth quarter of last year. And even this quarter, you continue to see up 4.8%, even though volume has dropped off tremendously. So the difference between volume and dollars is often inflation. And that's exactly what we're seeing. If you look at the average price per pound across all grape varieties, across all stores, in 2019, that was $2.03. A year later, that dropped to $1.92. In 2021, it came back up to $2.04. So really, we were just up to the 2019 levels now. And in 2022, the first quarter, we're already sitting at $2.35. The blue line in the graph shows the change versus a year ago. And as you can see, in the first quarter of 2022, we're up 14% versus the first quarter last year. So inflation is really starting to hit grapes, and that might have a lot to do with the pressure we're seeing in units and volume as well. But additionally, we have way fewer promotions. And that's really important because grapes have always been a highly promoted category. If we look at what percentage of total pounds were sold while being on some kind of promotion, that sits at about 35% for total fruit and at almost 50% for grapes. So that seems high, but when we compare that to pre-pandemic, it's actually down 19% from about 60% during normal years. And it's really those promotions and that visibility that grapes have that tends to drive the high household engagement. So this has a lot to do with the fact why we're seeing a little bit of that unit and volume pressure, in addition, of course, to all the supply chain issues that we've been seeing. When we compare sales of green versus red, black, blue, and purple, you see that they're roughly the same size, about 1.1, 1.2 billion. Now that's in dollars. If you look at pounds right below it, you see that pounds is much higher in red, blue, black, and purple. However, when you look at the different performances over the last 52 weeks, you see that on the green side, we have an increase in dollars, in units, and in volume. Whereas that pressure on units and volume is really coming from the red side. Now, for those of you that are math buffs, you'll probably see that these numbers don't quite add up to the total. And that is because some are mixed packages, some are all other packages, and those are impossible to code. So what I was able to code in terms of varieties, that's what we're looking at here. Now, when we look at the top 10 sellers over the latest 52 weeks, you see that the top 2 represent almost 30% of sales. Then the top 6 almost represent 60% of sales. So you have a couple of really, really big powerhouses in dollars. And after that, we drop off all the way to about $74 million a year. And there's a whole range of smaller varieties from there. If we look at the growth, you see that the big guys are not necessarily the fastest growers. In fact, the number 2 is actually down 2.5%. But if you look at the growth percentages of some of those smaller varieties, you see double digits across the board. One that's doing extremely well is that mixed package for people that are looking for variety or people that maybe look for a beautiful color on their charcuterie plate. And you see some of the smaller varieties have triple digit growth even. When we look at that same picture in pounds, that's where you see a completely different order. The biggest guys are not necessarily the biggest in pounds as well. And a lot of that has to do with the price per pound. If you look at the number 1 seller, it is averaging a price per pound of about $2.10. If you compare that to a cotton candy grape, it's $4.27. So you have to sell way fewer pounds of cotton candy to derive at the same number of pounds, same number of dollars in total. When we look at the top 10 sellers in pounds and we look at the dollars change and the pound sales, you see that they can be completely different. And that's, again, where some of that inflation comes in. And not to worry, I know this is a lot of numbers to take in. We are very happy to share the deck with you afterwards. But a couple of the ones that are highlighted are exactly those ones that we talked about. The cotton candy, the mixed fresh, they really show that people are excited about something new in the marketplace. If we look at what is growing really fast versus what is selling the most, that's where you see some very big growth numbers on the board for things like the Autumn Crisp, the Sugar Drop, mixed packages, Jade, and Sweeties. And those were all ones that had to be at least $2 million in sales over the last 52 weeks. Couple of other quick insights. Wanted to talk to you about organic. We see that about 6.4% of total dollars are organic grapes, and that's up from 4.6%. So that's not just inflation. We actually see above average growth in dollars, units, and volume there as well. Additionally, we continue to see that package sales drives a lot of the growth across categories, and the same is true for grapes. So here you see fixed weight for total fruit that was up 11.4%, whereas random weight was up 0.7% over the 52 weeks ending mid-October. If you look at grapes, you see that contrast being even sharper. So the whole idea of packaged is becoming bigger and bigger. And in grapes, that's about 26% of total sales, up from 23% the year before. I talked a little bit about charcuterie, and I think that's where some of those colors and beautiful varieties come in. Charcuterie is red hot, and I think grapes really needs to play a big role there, from complementing the meats, the cheeses, but also from the beautiful color perspective. We also see on-the-go snacking being back. We see convenience stores being in the mix. So we still have a lot of hot growth areas for grapes. So that was my quick overview. Please reach out anytime. Also find me on LinkedIn. I always share a lot of updates. And I'm going to kick it back over for our next speaker.
My name is Luis Katsurayama. I'm the operations coordinator for Jasmine Vineyards here in Delano, California. We are convinced that this product works, so we started slowly just with our exports. We think this needs to be introduced to all of our products, even to our national market, as we educate the retailers on the product as well. There is a positive difference that we were able to track. So this Hazel product is helping us keep greener stems, therefore the arrivals are better every time. This obviously helps us elevate the quality of the fruit, which is our emphasis here at Jasmine Vineyards. Everything is about the quality. Also, it's worth noting that this product is going to be very beneficial for the shelf life of the product. The product here comes out with the beautiful green stems. If we can retain this color throughout the retail level, I think we can get much better results, not only in sales, but in shelf life. So that's why we reached back to you and said that we need to implement the product to our entire program.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for participating in our Table Grape Perspectives panel discussion. It's a pleasure to have here Luis Katsurayama, Operations and Food Safety Manager at Jasmine Vineyards, and Nico Tomasic, Business Development Manager at Hazel Tech. And they're both here today to join us to discuss the global grape market, as well as quality and innovation in the category. Luis, I'd like to start the conversation with you. We know that Jasmine is a leader in premium table grape varieties. What are some of the changes that you've seen in the industry in the last few years?
Changes, there's been a few, Pat. I think the entire environment of the industry has been adapting to changes. That I think the catalyst was probably some regulation coming from the state down, and those can come from labor changes. As you might know, we've been implementing the minimum wage increase to $15 an hour. And at the same time, we've been trying to figure out how to implement the 40-hour week. So these two sets of regulations have really put the whole industry in overdrive and trying to figure out how to adapt to these changes. So there's been quite a few changes. Not all are general or the same. Jasmine has done some changes as our neighbors have done differently. All of us are trying to figure out how to adapt to to these regulations, which is, I think, has been the biggest catalyst for changes in the California environment.
Mhm. Are there certain varieties or market windows that you think will change based on, the 40-hour work week, some of the labor impacts, water, as far as market timing and offerings? How do you think that will be affected?
It certainly will, Pat. I think the low yielding varieties that we were accustomed to eating sometimes, we would find the flames in the supermarkets, the good old Thompson varieties there. And I think little by little, you're going to see them disappear out of the supermarkets. Today, there's a handful of us that grow a few acres of flames. I know of a couple that still grow Thompsons, but that's it. It's a handful. Reason being is because this same business environment that we are dealing with is forcing us to pull out these low yielding varieties, whether they're still popular or not. They're just out of our economic reach as a producer. So we have to focus on the high yielding varieties or the better selling products that can return to us.
Yeah, thanks for that, Luis. That's a good point. And continuing on the market condition topic, we all know that the global supply chain, it's been under a lot of pressure in the past couple of years. Export logistics, inputs, really a lot of different factors. What are some of the ways that the global supply chain has affected you guys at Jasmine, and how are you adapting to some of these challenges?
Excellent question, and that is probably the reason of our biggest headaches last year. Logistics. Jasmine relies on exports. Probably 35% of our products were destined to many countries throughout the world. So this really affected us. We had to rethink our marketing strategies, focus in North America, and having to deal with over-the-road transportation instead of shipping abroad. We still have commitments with a lot of countries in Asia and some in Europe. But the way around that is we provide service via air. That increases the price exponentially, so that limits the amounts that the customers can take. The other problems is this logistic issue is not getting any easier. We don't foresee it getting any better this summer. So we're trying to figure out how to supply all these countries that they desperately need the product. They need to put products on their shelves. So air has been our only option so far, and it's limited to their economic reach.
Yeah, thanks for that, Luis. The only thing that we know is that there's always going to be change, and it's just a matter of adapting to it. So on that note, Nico, from your perspective, passing it on to you, what do you believe some of the changes in the industry are going to be this coming season in the California deal?
Yeah, well, as Luis mentioned, I think the quality is going to be one of the most important factors. Also the yield, of course, but with the logistic, I truly believe that the good growers are going to be able to export overseas, and it's going to be a great market for them. So I believe it's going to change, but the quality of the Californian grapes are going to be able to be exported.
Mm-hmm. And when we talk about that export market, Nico, those premium varieties, what are some of those varieties that you think that the high quality fruit and the high quality growers that they're going to be able to capitalize on?
Yeah, I believe the Ivory, Autumn Crisp, Adora, the late season, Sweet Celebration are great varieties, great eating varieties. So I'm sure they're going to be overseas this season.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And of course, as we start getting ready for the California deal, we're finishing out the South American deal here. This is a question for you, Nico. I know that you've been evaluating imports from South America in the past couple weeks and months. What are ways that importers are using HazelTech, and what have you seen in general from the import market for arrivals in the U.S.?
Yes, well, I got a great experience. There is an import company trying Hazel with Chilean grapes here in New Jersey. We have seen great results. They are going to be able to hit the late market, which is a great market now for the import season. with greener stems. So far, I've been surprised with the great results because these are different grapes. You know, we are treating the grapes here in New Jersey, and the grapes are from Chile. So it's been awesome.
Yeah, really interesting that even after that voyage, that you can still use the technology. Luis, switching back to you, how do you think this year's grape season will go relative to last year?
It's interesting. Nico and I were discussing some numbers early on. Last year was a low yielding year, unusually low yielding, and several factors came into play for that result. This year is different already. We've seen it completely different. So we can only speculate and make some educated guesses. We believe the yields are going to be much higher than last year. To put some perspective, some numbers, we're rounding out the numbers. Last year produced at 97 million as an industry. We believe this year we're going to come close to 110, 109 is what we're projecting maybe. If that is the case, there's going to be a lot of fruit in the market. But like Nico said earlier, it's going to be determined by the quality of the grape that the producer that is going to come up on top. So quality, as you know, Jasmine has always been focused on, and that's going to be our focus this year as well, to try and keep up with the market.
And what are some of the innovations that you're implementing at Jasmine to ensure the quality, whether it's domestic, export, across varieties? What are some of the innovations that you're exploring or using?
We treat all of our fruit with the highest quality possible, either whether it's domestic or export. Although some export has some particular protocols for exportation, but we try to treat them all together with the highest quality possible. First is your product. We implemented Hazel Technologies 2 years ago, and with some great results. So that's one of the immediate changes that we've been able to implement thanks to you guys. The second part is going to be a very slow process. It's called mechanization. I think that's going to be the key for the future of all producers in California. Given the business environment that we're dealing with, labor is becoming scarce and very expensive as well. So we're looking for options to keep up with the industry. And we believe technology is going to be the key for our future. But in order to implement that technology, we're also going to invest a lot on human capital. We will need skilled labor. So that's what we're trying to work on now, is to try to educate our current labor so they can adapt to the new technologies that are being created today. We work with several companies, from robotics to software companies, and we give them pieces of the vineyard so they can come in and look and experiment and take notes, and we try to innovate. We still, we're lagging behind. We still need a lot of work to get done, to get to that point. But every year we make progress when it comes to technology, and I think that's the key. So we need to stay in that path, and of course to stay educated in the industry with all the different products that are coming up, and really do our homework and research, and then implement what we think it works, as the case was with Hazel Technologies.
And with the Hazel Tech, Luis, what are some of the varieties where you feel like it's a really good solution from what you've seen?
Maybe it's an unfair question for me because it's early in my experience with, say, Hazel Tech. A producer needs years to gather the information from season to season. In 2 seasons, I can tell you that I've seen some great results in my red grapes. I've seen some great results in my early black grapes. The maturity of the vine, which is where I want to continue working with you guys on the technology side, maybe on the research side, to understand the maturity of the vine, so the maturity of the grape within its own season, the effectiveness, or where it's more effective to apply Hazel Tech or not. And by learning this together, I think we can make your product and my product more efficient, and therefore increase the shelf life, which I think is the major goal here, Pat, is to reduce food waste by increasing shelf life at the retail level.
Definitely. Yeah, no, that's the focus, and we look forward to continuing that with you and Jasmine. So Now that's all from Luis for now, but I do want to give a shout out. They do have their Fresh Alerts newsletter, and that's going to be going for the entirety of the season. That's updates straight from the vineyard, and it's a pretty unique program that they do there. So definitely look out for that for everybody in the audience that is interested. And I'll close. One last question for you, Nico. You were recently traveling in Mexico and Jalisco and saw some of the grape harvesting there and packing and shipping. What were some of your impressions there on the quality coming out of that region, and what were some of your overall thoughts? And maybe also some thoughts on just the Mexico deal in general this season, since we know that that's imminent.
Yeah, thanks, Pat, for the question. I went last week to Jalisco, Tulipan. The operation are high end. I'm surprised how they're working over there. The quality is high quality. I mean, the operation is high quality, but the quality of the grapes, I got surprised. Beautiful autumn crisp. They are opening the North American season, and definitely they are working really good, and they're trying to hit the market early with high quality. I heard the market price is really high, so they're almost done in Jalisco and now moving up to Sonora. And it's been, I think, a great experience for me, seeing how they can manage the harvest through the pruning and Dormex, because it's a tropical weather in Jalisco. So it was a great experience for me. I'm really happy for them.
Yeah, it's an exciting production area, and we'll have to see how it grows and how that progresses, just like a lot of other things that we've talked about today. So thanks for that, Nico. So in closing, thanks Luis and Nico for your time, sharing your insights on these quality advancements and technology and the exciting season ahead. It's been a great conversation and unique, certainly. Now we'll move on to our next presentation in the webinar program. Thanks again, Luis and Nico. We look forward to what's ahead for these table grapes. Thank you.
Likewise. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Luis. Thanks, Pat.
I'm Nick Dulcich with Yaakov Dulcich and Sons, and we grow table grapes. We're out here harvesting our green emerald seedless, which we've developed quite a following, especially in Southeast Asia. We are in the middle of our harvest. We're picking south and north, and we are using a new technology that is called Hazel technology. And we're testing it out this year, but I'm seeing very good results. I'm seeing better arrivals. I'm seeing my stems seem to be stronger. Yep. There seems to be less complaints about shatter, and overall, mostly a freshness. The green grapes are more in demand overseas, so we're putting this in our top export box. And whether it's air or an ocean shipment, I utilize the sachet inside the box. Gives the customer a longer time to hold the fruit and utilize the technology for everyone's benefit.
Good morning. Welcome again to our Quality Summit. My name is Mario Cervantes. I'm Director of Business Development for AgTech at Hazel Technologies. Today, we have some solid information to share with you on our technology applications for the table grape category. In 2015, two Northwestern University PhD researchers discovered a new way to release actives already in existence that were proven to extend shelf life for produce. And thus, Hazel was born. They made a huge leap by making these actives easy to use via a proprietary time-release mechanism. In a nutshell, they found a new way to tackle and reduce food waste. Today, our easy-to-use technology is as simple as tossing it into the box. Our mission at Hazel is to deliver cutting-edge products that extend the shelf life of produce and improve the quality of food for everyone along the supply chain. By the end of the year, Hazel will have been used with almost 6 billion pounds of fresh produce, keeping almost 500 million pounds from going to waste. Now let's look a little bit under the hood. For years, academics have shown efficacy of anti-ethylene and antifungal actives in fresh produce, yet for years, it's been difficult to use in the real world on a commercial scale. Another plus of these actives is, of course, that they are residue exempt and do not require consumer contact. The innovation that Hazel brings revolves around the ease of use, making the technology compatible with many packing processes. Hazel's innovation is backed by the USDA. We've received $1.5 million in innovation grants via a very competitive process, where a technical committee at the USDA assesses to determine the efficacy as well as the novelty of the technology. Additionally, this process includes receiving letters of support from companies in the industry. Working with prestigious academic organizations around the world further reflects our commitment to innovating within the industry. We've worked with institutions across the Americas, including UC Davis, Cornell, Oregon State, University of Florida in the US, as well as with prestigious institutions in Chile, such as INEA and la Universidad Católica, just to name a few. Our quick growth in just a few years comes from partnerships with some of the industry's most dynamic growers, packers, shippers, importers, food service organizations. Making better arrivals, reducing adjustments, having a longer time to enjoy fruit at home makes for a better consumer eating experience and greater returns across the supply chain. We're excited to continue working with the industry to continue bringing value not only in table grapes, but in the dozen or so commodities that Hazel works in today. Now, our growth, it comes from our customers, and this has led to numerous awards in the last couple of years, furthering our capability to specialize and bring value to the industry. Our robust R&D team listens to, responds to industry needs via forums such as this summit, which allows for us to bring together multiple stakeholders, including academics, marketers, growers, and other specialists to discuss relevant perspectives and trends. Our technology in grapes, of course, is keeping the stems greener for longer, simply by placing a sachet in the master case. It's as simple as that. The photos on the right are real-world photos and real-world results. This last season, these were some of the varieties where Hazel has been deployed commercially. This easy-to-use technology is readily deployable across different programs, whether it's for exports, longer distance rides, storage fruit, or import programs across multiple varieties. Now, this last season, we did some additional in-depth research with our partners at API, and the next few slides are real-world photos, real-world graphs summarizing the results. 3 varieties, Autumn Royal, Autumn King, Magenta, held in cold storage for 15, 29, 43 days in cold storage, and then evaluated 2 and 4 days in ambient temperature, simulating a retail shelf for a consumer's home. Today, we'll take a look at some of the results. These Autumn Royals, 29 days in cold storage, followed by 2 days in ambient. The Hazel treated fruit on this side of the screen looks brighter and fresher. 23% greener stems. Another way to look at it. At the 43-day mark with 4 days at ambient temperature, the results are even more dramatic. It's a great opportunity for later season fruit, for example, when you can still get green stems on the shelf at the store. You can see the control group on this side and the Hazel treated group in this column over here. And here's exactly what the consumer would see with and without Hazel. Brighter, greener stems when treated with Hazel. In other words, 47% greener stems. Our teams were also keen to look at shatter and found that Hazel treated fruit had less than half as much shatter as treated fruit. This was an interesting interesting trend that we've seen across quite a few varieties. It's held constant even after 43 days in cold storage and 2 days at ambient temperature. In Autumn Kings, we also saw better results with Hazel treated fruit versus the control. And we'll take a look at the photos here in a second. Here's a comparison between the untreated on the left and the Hazel treated fruit on the right after 43 days and in cold storage and 4 days at ambient temperature. 23% greener stems. The shatter trend looked just as interesting as with the Autumn Royals, both at the 15 in cold storage plus 4 days at ambient temperature, as well as the 29 days in cold storage and 4 days at ambient temperature. In conclusion, we're excited to continue innovating on technologies that are easy to use, that are USDA funded, and that are academically validated and deployed in the real world today. Thank you for your time. I'm looking forward to your questions. Thank you.
Thank you to the speakers for their insightful presentations and discussions. We will now start the Q&A portion of the summit. The first question goes to Anne-Marie. Anne-Marie, what are the primary ways that retailers promote grapes, and how can these promotions help increase the sales for the black and blue grapes?
Yeah, so I think across the entire store, not just grapes, not just produce, we've seen significantly fewer promotions. And this comes at a time that more consumers are looking for promotions because of the inflation that we've been seeing. I'm literally just writing up the results through April. We're still sitting at around 11% inflation versus April of 2021. So life is significantly more expensive and people are looking for cheaper options. So what we're seeing is the price off per pound continues to be extremely popular. The second most popular one is the BOGO, the buy one, get one. But I would also say in the grand scheme of things, grapes are still a great deal compared to some of the other fruits, compared to things like meat and other parts of a meal as well. And so what I've seen is a lot more creativity in promotions among retailers as of late, where, for instance, they promote the entire price of a charcuterie board, the cheeses, the grapes, the meat, all together, so that grapes can help bring down that total price piece. Same for the meal, where people pitch high-end sandwiches, for instance, which are very popular right now because they're cost effective. Grapes make a wonderful side to that. So I think really just giving people ideas of grapes as a snack, grapes as the fruit, as a dessert, as a actual portion of the meal, all these different things would really do continued wonders, because grapes is really on a hot streak right now. Perfect, thank you for that. We had a question from the audience regarding some of the data you were presenting. Was that year-over-year comparisons from 2020 versus 2021 or 2021 versus 2022? Where possible, it's actually what we call the latest 52 weeks. So it went all the way through March. And if anyone is interested in keeping track of those latest numbers, I put those out every month. So please ping me on LinkedIn or email me. A few of the organic numbers and the bulk versus random weight, those were from last year. So then it's 21 compared to 2020, but all the other numbers were updated all the way through March. Wonderful, thank you. Our next question is for Luis. Luis, what markets are Jasmine most excited about this upcoming season?
I think you're on mute, Luis.
There we go. We're very excited about all the markets. We export close to 35% of our product. We go to at least 18 countries outside of the United States currently. But given the current logistics situation, we've been focusing most of our marketing efforts in North America so we can compete when it's called OTR, over the road transportation, which seems to be the most available. So very excited with the programs that we've been developing with Canada and Mexico. In Mexico, we have a very aggressive program, and we've been able to penetrate the highest levels of the market over there. Very excited about what's happening down in Mexico.
Perfect. Thank you. Next up, we have a question for Nico. Nico, what are some examples of mechanization that you see growers adding to their vineyards in California and globally?
Good question. Yeah, I've seen a lot of mechanization, especially in the packing house level, to reduce the cost, and also in the field, helping the pickers and packers to maximize the boxes per hour, which has been a great help for the California since the labor cost is high for the growers.
Okay, thank you. Luis, is there anything else you wanted to add regarding what Jasmine is doing specifically?
Well, to stay on the subject of mechanization that Nico was commenting on, we try to participate on all the mechanization efforts that are out there right now. We have not been able to implement anything directly in the field, except for one machine that is out there called El Burro. And this is like a mechanical cart that it will help us generate efficiencies on how we transport the fruit from inside the row where the vines are to outside of the avenue where we pack the boxes. Typically, this is done by manpower with a wheelbarrow, or what we call here in the fields, la carretilla. And this is being replaced by a mechanical burro, or a machine that is automated, and it actually see the vineyard and drive around obstacles. This will bring efficiencies, because now instead of using the 3 people, one of them was dedicated to the wheelbarrow, that person can remain picking. So we're not displacing any humans. On the contrary, we are elevating their skilled labor. Therefore, it's going to elevate our efficiency, is what we think. Mechanization has a lot of room for improvement when it comes to grapes. We're not able to go and grab a single bunch yet. So I think that's what the work is. Technology is focusing on this next few seasons, is how to identify the right bunch to harvest, which right now can only be done by a human eye. And I think those are the main implementations that we're doing.
Perfect. Thank you, Luis, and thank you, Nico, as well. Nico, back to you. So you mentioned Hazel's been working on import seasoned grapes. Could you and Mario expand a little bit more on that?
Definitely, yes. We are doing some trials in New Jersey with Chilean grapes for the late season. The Hazel sachet was applied here in New Jersey, and we have seen great results. The market, as I said, is really good for late storage program like Thompson's, and we are being able to show good results and help the grower to get better returns.
And just to add into a little bit to what Nico shared, the amount of fruit that comes in and that's stored and that has to go into the market can add up. And so really being able to hold the quality of the fruit in terms of keeping the stems from browning is something that was of significant interest. And so one of our partners out east was keen to take a look at the technology and was really just as excited as we were to see the results.
Perfect. Thank you both. And another question back to you, Mario. Mario, question that came from the audience is, when is the best time for a grower to apply the Hazel sachets? to the grapes.
Yeah, and this goes back to my recent point. Most of our customers have been doing it at moment of harvest, right? It's shortly thereafter applying the technology and being able to quantify the results, like what Luis has seen, and you know, in the last California season. Some of these applications that we've been doing out east have been on fruit that is already shipped in from South America. So it's fruit that has been 2 and 3 weeks on the water before arriving, and then the application has been done at that time, and we've still seen results. So it's really, so there's something quite interesting there that is worth looking at more in depth.
Perfect. Thank you. And Mario, got another one for you. Could you please describe the Hazel Technologies USDA funding in a little bit more detail?
Sure. You know, Hazel's we've been a growing organization. I joined 4 years ago. We were 11 people, and so we've applied for grants through the USDA. It's an SBIR program, and it's really, you have to present an idea, and you have to present that the idea is not just that it works, but that it's also novel, right? So it's having something that is assessed by the USDA by a technical committee, where you are able to show those 2 points and then get support from the industry in the form of letters. So we had all those components come together, and to date, I believe we've received about $1.5 million from the USDA on, again, having a concept that is novel and that you know, has efficacy. So that's a little bit of the process. And I would say that less than 6% of the companies that end up applying for this type of grant end up receiving the funds from the USDA. So it's a really competitive process too.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you. So that looks like wraps up our questions for today. So I wanted to thank you again to our speakers and for your participation in the Hazel Technologies Grape Quality Summit. Have a great day.